Hello, Evony friends. Well, we finally finished this big event. I ended up 21st, so I don't get the permanent decoration, which I wasn't really playing for it anyway. I mean, would it have been nice to have? Sure, but the biggest value in it, I felt, was if you're able to rank really high and get like the fragments and stuff that go with it. So, um, of course, do you want to get all the like extra stuff, extra bonuses, all that stuff? Of course you do, but at the end of the day, there were other things in this event that were of far more value to me. A big part of it being the sub-generals, and I was able to do a few things. So with sub-generals, I did get a Simone, which I kicked around the idea of, because I was wanting to max my Jans and get him fully awakened, which did happen. So I did get Jan fully awakened. So that gives a nice extra bump. And then I got a third Baldwin awakened. So that gave me a nice little bump as well. It's nothing huge, but when you're talking an extra 10% range of siege attack, defense, and HP, like, that's a big 10%. If you're looking at the total buff, so that's 3 categories times 2, that's 6. So that's a 60% debuff across the board. I don't really look at it that way. I look at certain things that I want to debuff, and I place a value on it based on that. You know, with this being said, a lot of people say, well, with sub-generals or any generals, the real value is awakening them, which I agree. But when you look at him compared to what's considered the best in the game, I think if you're talking value of just a max spec general, no awakening, I think when we look at this guy, a max spec, when we're talking, it's going to be a purely max spec sub general. I'm not looking at anything beyond that. I don't know if you're going to find one as good as him. And then if you do awaken, here, that's where you get the extra, right? Because he's archer and siege based, but you can get the ground and mounted, and that's like your bonus, right? So yeah, in my opinion, really solid event for me. I didn't get enough to max awaken Ragnar. I didn't get his assistant. I didn't get a permanent decoration. I didn't get a skin for the champion. But you have to look at it as, you know, I spent what I wanted to spend, and that was it, and I wasn't going to spend any more. And I got a fully max spec Simon. I've got I broke down 1 Jan because I had 3. Now I've got 2. So I've got the one that's just a max spec general, and I've got the fully awakened one, and I managed to fully awaken another Baldwin. So for me, if I look at it like, okay, well, I've got 2 awakened sub generals that I didn't have before, and I was able to replace one that I moved with probably, in my opinion, the best debuff general in the game, if we're talking max spec and nothing more. So for me, I look at it as a win-win, and I'm happy with the results of that. So going into these events, like, they're gauged towards a certain type of player, and of course they're gauged towards heavy spending. But if you can find personal value in it for yourself and consider, like, this will help me right now, 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 and coin towards that and have a goal before you even spend a penny, look at the event, see what you want to do, and go from there. So for me, it made a big difference. And even in my report, so it was SBS weekend as well, and I noticed that after I had gotten all the awakening done, my defense was much better. I was cutting the attack more. I was cutting the HP more. And it looked really, really good. So I really have no complaints. And this time, like, we had bigger rallies, right? Because usually, and this is part of, like, why I would play, like, what people would consider reckless in SVS. But realistically, when you're talking SVS, I mean, not very often are you going to have more than a 40 million troop rally. Like, I've faced against a lot of what people would call the best players in the game. And I would do that with the thought of, you know, they're not going to be able to coordinate everyone like they do Battlefield. So I'm going to face, you know, between 25 and 45 million. And I feel like with my debuff, my buff, the way my city's built, my generals, everything that comes into play on defense, my thought process usually is, you know what, I can eat a 30 or I can eat a 40 and it'll be solid. But this time, we faced Guystown, which he's solid. And he was the first time I ever won an All-Star Dragon. He was the rally setter. And I think actually, and the concept at the time was like just rally hard, rally hard, rally hard, rally hard. If you're not in 10 seconds, you're being left behind, which today it doesn't even matter because that rally will be filled way before 10 seconds. So, you know, All-Stars, plan on being there in 6 seconds or less, or plan on being left behind. It's kind of like being late for the Greyhound bus. They aren't turning around for you. Now this was like later. So one of our players capped the throne, and I feel in some ways I do feel players felt it was a free for all, and like negative points were out the window at that point. Like it felt like nobody cared, and you know, I can understand that there was a little sensitive moment, a little not so pleased with that. You know, we capped the throne, and then people started acting a fool. But also, you kind of have to look at it as it's an opportunity for other players to open stuff in their Senate. I hope that they learned that it was massively negative, and there was probably nothing like it. All that showed you was that you really need to work on your stuff, because the defenses were pretty damn bad, and these guys were good. Like they did well against me. This one like later, so this was like later on in the battle, and here I've got 500 million gone. But at this point, I had awakened all the generals. I had gotten all the stuff that I wanted to get out of the event. And the defenses were, like, for me, in my opinion, like, this one was really good. Basically, because this was a small siege, where generally you're going to be, like, without rain, you're definitely going to be negative, most likely. With rain, which I think I had, like, 3 rains in here. So that was solid, right? But it got better and better, and I was chopping at this point. Like, I didn't realize any of this was going on until I was about to check out, and I saw, oh crap, my phone's red. So this one was really good, right? So this was Siege. It was his big Siege because he uses gun throw as big Siege. And this was really solid, right? I mean, we're not talking 30, 40 million range. We're talking 15 million range. And they had already been hit with the siege. So with that being said, like, there was not a lot of meat on the bone left. There weren't a lot of range. I mean, the 13s, yeah, it was heavy 13. And that killed a lot. So these did still kill a lot. Some of them, of course, the ones that are going to have lower HP or what have you, like, they did not do heaps. But, so yeah, this one was really, really, really good. My 15s were gone, and my 14s were all but gone. 13's ate the brunt of it. 12's performed really well. And then, of course, now this is one thing that my concept on the T4, and there's been players that are considered the best minds in the game. And I'm sure a lot of people would tell me, because I'm not going to say any names, but I'm sure a lot of people would tell me, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind because he's done this, he's done this, he's done this. And I understand, like, there is such a thing as celebrity Evony players due to YouTube. And I get that, and, like, they've won a lot of stuff, right? And I won't argue that. Like, I'm definitely not going to argue that. But my point of view is if you are not the biggest player, you don't have everything, and you don't have heaps of troops. I mean, if I was 40 billion power, are you kidding me? You know how long it would take for anyone to zero me, even in Battlefield? I mean, even the best players. But I'm not. I'm 28? Just over 28. So, with that being said, build what you know about the game, knowledge. Like, when you're a medium-sized player, like, a lot more goes into it than it does for players that are huge, because we have to get everything that we possibly can out of our city, right? Like, to do well in Battlefield, to do well in SVS, like, you got to get every little bit out of everything in your city that you can get. So again, there are people that dispute it, and my response to that is, I have heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of reports because I save all these, right? I save all these reports. I take notes. I've got freaking 10 Evony notebooks chock full of stuff from, like, day one. So, with that being said, I have heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of reports that are definitely going to back up my theory, and people can say this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what player says it to me. It really doesn't, because I'm like, what's that based off of? Because when I threw this out there, I was basing that on reports. I'm basing that on what reports are telling me. And that's it. It's not something I made up in my mind. It's nothing like that. It works. It simply works, because you can't argue with numbers, especially not in Evony, because that's what the whole game's based off of. So it is what it is. And here you see 42 million T4s. And then it's not going to touch my 3s, 2s, and 1s. Then at the high end, because it's going to hit the high end, at the same time it's hitting the low end, you got my 14s. And it did clear my 13s, of course, because that was the stopping, right? The way my theory works is the T4s are tying them up, because people will be like, oh, well, they just died. And it's like, well, they didn't just die because they had to do something. Something had to kill them, right? So 42 million of them were killed. That means quite a few high-tier siege machines in that rally were targeting the T4s. And while they were doing that, my siege was killing them. Because we got 3 rains, and this has been hit once already with siege. So a lot of the high tier are gone. Aside from 13 and 12 is mainly what's going to be left. So that was the second hit. And then there's a third hit. And there were other reports, and I was negative mainly just in the small siege, I was negative. So it's not like I'm trying to hide the report. Do I expect that I need to be positive on everything? No, like, if you don't have rain, or you don't have at least one good rain to combat a small siege rally, most players are going to be negative. Except for the whales and the people that are like K43, 44, 45. Like, you never rally them anyway, because that's kind of like throwing a shopping cart in front of a semi-truck. And shopping cart's not going to win. Anyway, so here on the next one, they sent Archer. He did a really solid Archer, in my opinion. And this one was really positive. And I'm not throwing shade. And like players that see their name on my YouTube videos, in my opinion, hats off to you. It's a compliment. I promise you it is. And the reason I say that is, like, I've been hit by some of the strongest. I've been hit by Aura. I've been hit by Northstar. Northstar is smart. She does know how to get positive on a small siege solo on me. Aura we haven't played for a while, but I feel like I got the recipe right by the last time we fought. And then there's a lot of other big name players that I'm friends with, and really we're all just students of the game, like Siegfried. I don't know if I've talked directly to Frank a lot, but I know that they have gone over my city after SVSs to try to kind of figure out the recipe, because and I never meant to be like a super strong like defensive player. Like I never ever had a goal of like I want to be the best defensively K40, because really I want to be an attack player. Like I feel like I've got a really solid base on the defense side of it, and my Archer and Siege is a little higher than Archer, but they're right around 3,000. But I'd like it to be a lot higher. Like I'd like to be more of an attack type player and be able to do solos and, you know, score better in rallies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, when you see your name on here, you're in good company, I promise you, because it doesn't matter. Anyone that we've played up to this point, I have not played RSP in SVS. I have not played VIG in SVS, and I don't look forward to it because they're in a different league. They just, right now, they really are in a different league. Hot? I would consider taking a rally from Hot in SVS, where I'm at. I have not played them in over a couple months in Battlefield, so I don't know what a rally against them would look like. But yeah, like I said, they were really good. They sent, I don't think they ever sent less than 60 million at me. And, you know, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Why not? Let's see how bad some of these other ones were. Because I know there were some that I was definitely wasn't going to brag about. This one here was solid. Let's see. This one here surely was negative. Okay, well, I guess it wasn't. But I know there were some early on, like this one here. This one was not good at all. They only lost 2.6 billion, and I lost 3.4. And I'm pretty sure that was a small siege. So it's even worse than it looks. This one again. Okay, well that was probably good. But I mean, like SPS is weird, right? Because I'm looking at these, like this one here, they were like way positive on this. This was small siege. But I looked at the ones where they were positive, and it was mainly small siege. It wasn't a massive number, but it is small siege, so that exchange is going to be much better. But I was like, how could I have these rallies where I'm like 2 billion positive or more, and I'm still behind? And I'll be honest, I scored 40 billion points. A lot of people would say that that's unnecessary, and in ways it was, but in other ways I was like, when am I ever going to get a chance, realistically, in an SVS setting, to face 60, 70, and they were like over 70 million troop rallies. So I was like, you know, it's very rare when you're going to get a chance where you're like, you know what, we're playing competitive, but I get to have fun, number one. And number two, like, I get to learn things, and I get to do different stuff with my build, and I get to let, you know, not heal my troops right away and see what my defense does on a second or third hit without healing. And these are all helpful things. So with that, it's like, I understand one point of view, but also I'm like, everyone needs to understand, like, this is the game, and this is how you, like, learn stuff, and you test stuff, and you get better. And by the end of this, like, I was better, even though I was, like, an absentee landlord, because I wasn't there. But it showed me, and I can go from these, take from these reports, and change dynamics, change the way I build, and see if the build concept that I've been working on does work and is going to work. And from these reports, I can tell you that it does. But we need to keep pushing forward and look at other players, other teams that are going to send as many troops in a rally. They're going to have better buffs, which that's just the game. And there's always going to be someone that has better buffs, right? Unless you're the guy that has the best buffs and then everyone's chasing you to catch up. So with that being said, I mean, this is all testing. Yes, we were guaranteed to win. But people are going to push for those Senate spots, which is really what I wanted, because I was like, we're ahead. I'm at 1.1 billion points. I wanted to push to 2 billion, and most times people won't keep rallying you. But they pushed on. So with that being said, we're able to do a lot of science, and other players that generally they'd be too scared to play, you know, they got to play, and they got to test their defense. And it's a deal of like, I'm testing it against one of the best teams in the game, because I mean, there's probably a lot of people that may not consider SAD one of the best teams in the game, but honestly, they're solid. They're always in Shalon's finals. They always have players in All-Stars. Geistown probably plays every All-Stars finals, and probably has played in every All-Stars finals since he started playing. So for anyone to say, oh, well, they're not a real great team, I'd be like, no, they're good. Well, you can organize 70 million troops in SVS, and you're bringing those buffs, and you've got several solid players that are bringing really good buffs in that rally. No, they're good. I promise you. So yeah, that was, for me, it was a great weekend, because everyone knows I love reports, love reading reports. That's what I base everything on. That's why I'm solid, you know. And that brings me to the main point of the video, and the main point is learn the game, learn how the dynamics work, read reports, because I'm not huge, even though I do put out YouTube videos. Don't base things and pass stuff off as truth based on what people are saying there, because like I would do that early on because I didn't know any better. And then when I start to cross-reference it with similar videos, I'd be like, okay, well, I looked at 3 videos covering the same topic, and all 3 of them said something different. But when you start looking at the reports, and if you want to be serious about this game, you start going into the reports, you start taking notes, you understand what works, what doesn't, what troops are doing what. You're going to look at your debuff, and you figure out what you need to work on. And that'll carry you forward. And that's really what this game is. And, you know, a lot of people will send me, I want my defense to be like yours, la-da-da-da-da, what do I need to build? And I just tell everybody straight up, like, it's not the question that you need to ask. And what you really need to ask, if you ask anything, is about reading reports. If you're not proficient at reading reports yet, then that's what you need to focus on. Get good at reading reports, because that's how you learn the game. And just by asking people for answers, and yeah, it might be a quick fix, but you really don't want to be spoon-fed information, because you're not truly going to get good at the game. I've got lots of friends and lots of players that still send me specific questions, and like I almost always respond with, what are your debuffs looking like, and what are your reports telling you? Because we're going to rabbit trail around to this, because you're not going to get better just by watching videos or just doing what other big players are doing, or copycatting people. Like, you need to learn the game and make your own decisions, because that's what I did. When Leonidas first came out, people said he was junk. But I had him and my defense was good, and I wasn't a real good player then. Then Assistant Generals, Awakening, like all this stuff came out. And reading reports and seeing where I needed help is what got me from where I was to where I am now. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what you need to do. Don't glorify players. If someone does a good job, yeah, sure. Do we like hearing, oh, good, you got a really good defense, your debuffs are really good? Do we like hearing that stuff? Shit, yeah, we love hearing that. I love hearing it. I've worked hard at this game. I've studied a lot. I've put in a lot of time away from the game, learning how stuff work. I took a 1-month break from the Super Alliance to basically just clean slate everything, go through all my notes, go through all my stuff, and start over and relearn the game and reteach the game to myself. And so of course we love hearing that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you ask me, Tim, how can my defense be as good as yours? And I'm going to tell you, study reports. See where your buffs are, see where your debuffs are lacking, see where your buffs are lacking. Make changes. Sometimes we do have to consider general switches. Sometimes we need to consider book switches. There's a lot that goes into it. But that's my final answer is become great at reading reports. And at times go through your generals and just look at everything in the game. Sometimes take some time and you're joining rallies or whatever, but in between joining rallies, you're looking at stuffs in your city, you're looking at buffs you can get, you're looking at what you get from your champions, all this stuff. You need to be smart and look at what you can be doing to become better. And that all starts with reading reports, because reports tell you everything that you need to know, whether you're attacking or defending. Reading reports and being great at that is going to take you to where you need to be. And that's really the only advice I can give you. And other people may say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. But I'll tell you simple, and I'll tell you just how it is keep reading your reports. See what your reports are telling you. See which troops die. See which troops die and kill stuff. See which troops kill the most. You need to go through all that stuff. And once you're doing that, and once you really know the game and you've learned how to play the game and how to read those reports and what you need to do, and you start seeing that the changes you make are making a difference, you're going to get better quick. You're going to get really good really quick. So it's the main point of this video is read the reports, see what you're doing. When you do read reports, look at the quality of the rally that you defend against, or if you're attacking, look at the quality of the target that you're hitting, and consider that. So lots of things to take into it. Reading reports, you should be reading and paying attention to everything from the top to the bottom, including what traps that are doing killing, what those traps are designed to kill, so you know what troops they're killing. And then look at your subsidies too. And when you're low level, subsidy troops, all that doesn't really matter that much. As those subs do get leveled, it is more expensive to do an instant train on those troops when they do die. But also, when you do get up to the higher level, your subsidy troops will do stuff, and there is more value in refines of what you do have in that subsidy. So with that, I'm going to put an end to this video. I feel like there's some good info here, and as always, just keep reading those reports, and you won't go wrong. I guarantee you. keep reading the reports. You'll learn where you're good. You'll learn what areas you need to work on. But they will tell you everything that you need to know. So with that, Ghost Rider Server 48 signing out. I hope everyone has a good day.